Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
6.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
We welcome you in on the postgame show. Back-to-back wild games inside the Dome and back-to-back Orange victories inside the Dome. The good weekend of Syracuse sports continues off of the lacrosse game last night. It's Nate KINGZ who wins it basically at the buzzer in one of the best wins of the season for SU basketball. 79-78 the final score. They call the timeout on the final possession. Hand up. I was sort of saying, why are we calling a timeout? Boopy Miller was behind the play. It seemed like Syracuse had numbers. And Nathan George didn't do a great job of recognizing maybe they had numbers. They were kind of slow to get into maybe a transition chance with Boopy Miller underneath his own basket behind the play. Adrian Autry calls the timeout. He dials up a play for Nate KINGZ. And it was slow developing. It was concerning what was going to happen when Nate KINGZ had the ball at the top of the key with maybe 6-7 seconds left. But I've been one that has said all year, we need more plays for Nate KINGZ. So many times this year, we've looked down at the box score and said, why did Nate KINGZ attempt 5-6 shots and J.J. Starling had 15 and Nathan George had 15? And we will get into all of the decisions that Coach Autry made in this second half. Probably the biggest decision, J.J. Starling really didn't play in the second half. He played the first 3 minutes of the second half, and he sat the bench the final 17 minutes of the game. 315-437-7644. If you'd like to call in, we'll get you Adrian Autry's full press conference here on our Burdick postgame show. Massage Envy hotline is already ringing for ESPN 44. There is a lot to digest. Of course, it's just nice to see Syracuse stack a couple wins in a row, get the crowd involved. It's great to see Kyan Anthony make some progress, play probably his best game in ACC play this year. He was really, really playing nicely in the second half of this game. Syracuse threw some zone out there. SMU threw some zone out there. SMU was bothered by foul trouble. And the Orange took advantage, and they made the winning play down the stretch. Nate KINGZ with a terrific bucket, threw some contact to lay up just to the left of the basket, and the Orange win at 79-78. And not to be lost, Tyler Betsy with some very good defense on the possession before that after SMU called a timeout. Let's go right to the phone lines. We've, of course, got Pat in Syracuse leading us off, and the phone lines are already jammed here after one of the more memorable wins of the season for the Orange. Pat in Syracuse kicking us off on our Massage MV hotline. What's up, Pat?
It seems whether you're the biggest critic or just the big way that there's obviously enough talent to get more wins, and why isn't it happening? And I think we finally found the culmination of it today. Look, JJ, people misrepresent because they have a 2-cent brain what I've said for 3 years about JJ. He is an ACC level player, okay? He is, but only in the right system, running, gunning, and with an open floor where he can drive. When him and Freeman and Kyle are in the game, the floor's not open because there's 3 guys that they want them to shoot threes. So that's why it never works for JJ. It's really that simple. And, Red promised in the preseason and in the early season that we were going to run and, have hockey-type substitutions just to catch a breather. That has not happened. These substitutions, though they've been furious, not furious because of the volume, furious because of the stupidity of some of the substitutions. But today's not the day to talk about that.
Yeah,
because
there
the
we go.
lineup
All right.
because the lineup with 3 shooters shows the difference. KINGZ is really coming into his own. I think he would have came into his own a lot sooner if he didn't have to play third fiddle always to JJ and Freeman. And it's amazing to me, some of that run came with Freeman on the bench because the offense flows. How many different announcers throughout the season have said the same damn thing, that the offense at times sits and watches, and it didn't do that. The ball was moving. To be honest with you, we were a little late to the game. I don't know if you noticed, Tim, but we finally hit 2 corner threes, and in the middle of those 2 hit corner threes, Kings missed an open 3, but the corners were open, and either there was a player there and George wasn't seeing him. There were 3 times that George made the wrong choice.
I was hoping they would throw it in the corner more, and Tyler Betsy did make some threes in the second half, and credit to him. He had a great defensive possession at the end of the game, but he was 0 for his first 5 from 3, and they were all pretty clean looks. So they really could have won this game.
I would love to know if Red said to hit the corners, because it was there for a while. But this team, they have the pieces. Obviously, you're 3 missed free throws away from 3 more wins and being in the top 46 in the net, which is where you would need to be. I said when we were still on the bubble, which we're not, that you needed to somehow, when the season ends, be at 23 wins. We're obviously not going to get there unless there's, craziness. I would say, as a Syracuse diehard, it would be great to get 20 wins just to say what it is. But as fun as this game was, it's just as likely that they could lose to Wake Forest as it is that they would, beat them. You just don't know what you're going to get with this team. It's obviously getting better. Maybe because Red knows the future, he's coaching a little bit more loose. I don't know. But good win. It doesn't take a lot of butts in the seats to be loud in there, and that was also pretty impressive. And you know what? It's nice to go into a Sunday with a win. Yeah. Thanks, Tim.
All right, I appreciate it, Pat. Mostly positive there from Pat. He started out, and I was going to jump in and say, all right, Pat, let's not just bash the coaching after some decent decisions, I thought, down the stretch there from Adrian Autry. And this is not some monumental win. It doesn't change the Orange's chances of making the tournament that much, but it's just good to see. It's been a hard year for the guys. Nate KINGZ has been a great story. Nate KINGZ has been fun to watch all year, and that is a play he will remember for the rest of his life. And hopefully Nate KINGZ is back next year for Syracuse, but he has come into his own. There's been some really nice positive takeaways we've seen in the last handful of games in terms of how Syracuse's guards are playing, and not specifically J.J. Starling today, of course, but Nathan George, I feel like, has settled down. He's not overthinking it as much. He still had that one really bad live ball turnover with about 6:40 remaining in the game that led to an easy bucket down the other end. But all in all, George is playing nicely, and I don't think Donnie Freeman needs to play less minutes, but I think the takeaway from this game is you see they go to zone, and J.J. Starling just couldn't be out there when they were zoning Syracuse. They needed more shooters. J.J. is so reluctant to shoot from 3. Defenses have completely changed the scouting report on him over the course of this season and even dating back to last season as well. And it was very clear that they were going under screens. They were not giving J.J. any respect from three-point range. And Pat is right that it sort of clogs things up from a spacing standpoint. I don't know if Donnie Freeman contributes to the spacing issues, but William Kyle and JJ, not great for going against the zone, specifically JJ. So Red made the right call. And we talked throughout the season that sometimes it's just going to be a game time call on who finishes, whether it's Kyan Anthony, whether it's JJ, whether it's Nate KINGZ, Tyler Betsy, those type of decisions. And it felt like he made the right decisions today. He had good subbing in the second half. He counted on the lineup that brought him back in the game. So a lot to like in terms of Coach Autry's decisions in the second half, and a lot to like just overall from what the players are giving you in the last 2 games. How about Vito and Clay? He's next up on the phone lines. What's up, Vito?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I agree with everything you said. I mean, all you can do at this point is keep the door open. We don't think there's a good chance they're going to make the tournament, but you know, we don't want teams like SMU to come into the freaking dome and beat us on our home court. You got to defend your home court as much as possible. But I do want to say, Nate Kings has to have the ball at the end of the games from now on. If you can get him the ball, you can draw plays up for him. It has to be him. He's got the best body control. He knows how to get into the lane. When he can actually be twisting in the air, and he still knows how to get that ball in the hole. So going forward, it's got to be him. But if you look now at George.
Yeah.
Between the Notre Dame game when he had 10 assists, no turnovers. Today he had 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, 16 points, efficient shooting. That's the guard that they brought in from Georgia Tech. That's how he's got to play. And I will give it up to Autry. He coached a great game today, and we can't really say that a lot about him. But you just keep racking up the wins and see what happens. I mean, someone told me if Syracuse beat Hofstra and BC, they would be net rankings, I think, high 40s, low 50s, and they would be in the talk for Selection Sunday. They're that close. They're one free throw from Donnie at BC from, beating them. And that the other loss was terrible, but what are you going to do? What's his name got grabbed on the arm at the end there?
Yeah, Kyle.
Anthony. That should have been a win there, too. So they're one free throw in BC. They're a missed call by the ref there, but they're playing good. George is playing like the guard that they thought they should have gotten, and let's see what happens, man.
Yeah, good stuff, Vito. I appreciate you checking in. That's Vito in Clay. I really think Red called the timeout there to dial up a play, thinking, I don't want Nathan George's hands on the basketball at the end of this game right now. And maybe that's too harsh, and I think Vito is right that George has been playing better. But we have seen late in games, I go back to the Houston game, end of regulation, it was frustrating how slow developing that was with Nathan George. I just don't have a lot of confidence that George is going to be the initiator there. So I feel like he saw George bring it up, not reacting as quickly as he wanted. He called the timeout, and he said, we're going to get the ball to Nate Kings, who is their best interior finisher. He's their best driver, and he really should be getting more plays drawn up for him. More opportunities to attack off the bounce for Nate Kings would be very critical. And I think Coach Autry basically said that on his visit on Orange Nation earlier this week. There was one play in the second half against the zone where he flashed from the corner towards the high post, and immediately when the pass came to him, kind of left alley area, I knew he was going to make the shot. And there was not enough of them getting Nate Kings involved in the offense. Nate Kings has been one of their best offensive players, especially in the last month or two. And we saw him come through down the stretch. I love that they went to him for that final play. And at first I was thinking, why are you calling timeout? Because you had numbers, but it was the right call. And it was also a perfect example of if Nate Kings doesn't make a play there, we're taking phone calls that are saying Adrian Autry blew it. And what was that out of timeout play? Sometimes you just need your players to go make a play, and Nate Kings did that. Back to the phone lines. Let's go to Jordan in New York. We'll get in one more, and then we'll break away so we can stay on time for Coach Autry. But I want to get to Jordan, who's been waiting patiently. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Tim. How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Very, very happy.
Yeah, good to be happy for a change, right?
They played a great game, and I'm very happy for Adrian Autry, especially for Kai and Anthony. I'm so happy that he was able to play and that J.J. Starling was taken out of the game. I know it's a tough decision to switch a senior for a freshman, but Kyan played an amazing game. Dished out, he selective with his shooting, and when he did get hot, he made his shots.
Yeah.
Right when we needed them, and it was beautiful from him.
Yeah, I think it was a great game for him. I don't think SMU is a very good defensive team. I think SMU struggled in their ball screen coverages. They really switched everything, and Kyan got some switches. Nathan George got some switches, and they were able to take guys off the dribble. They, of course, had their center in foul trouble, too. So I think things worked out, and I was really happy to see Kyan step up because that felt more like the Kyan Anthony we saw kind of early on in the season, letting the game come to him, but also just sort of having the right cadence and flow offensively. The ball wasn't sticking as much with him. And, you know, to everyone that now thinks, well, he shouldn't have benched him against Virginia or shouldn't have benched him recently, we hadn't seen that Kyan Anthony in a while. And we saw it today against a team that isn't a great defensive team, but I do think Red made the right moves there in the second half to go to Kyan.
Yeah, no, sitting JJ is hard to do.
It is, yeah.
But I think throughout these next few games, you need to play Kyan, because I think you can play a 4-1, 4 on the outside, and William Powell going inside, or maybe Donnie or Sadiq. We have 4 shooters, and we can spread the floor out a lot. And if we can make shots, I'm probably crazy. Why can't we beat Duke?
Well, I wouldn't go that far,
like that.
but yeah, I mean, you need to make shots in modern college basketball, and
yeah.
I like the lineups they've been going to that have more shooting for sure. Duke's going to be very tough to beat, but they made
defensive aspect, yes.
Yeah. They made 11 threes. We appreciate you checking in, Jordan. They made 11 threes in this game that tied a season high. They made 7 threes in the second half. I could go through, but I feel like that's probably the most threes they've made in a half this year. If not the most, it's right up there. So they really did a nice job shooting in the second half. 7 for 17 from 3 in the second half, 41%. Betsy finally started to make some. He was 0 for his first 5. He made his last 2. KINGZ 3 for 8 from 3. So they really did a nice job overall in this game offensively, and we sort of expected that. SMU's not a good defensive team, but do give Coach Autry some credit, because benching J.J. Starling, some of you would say he should have done it earlier, he should have done it all year. I think this specific game, it really called for it, and Red is making some decisions that it felt like he wouldn't have made early on in the season, because he knows things are dire, he knows they need these games. And you could go back to maybe the Hofstra game or other games and say he should have been making better decisions then. And I hear you, but it's unfortunate that you have to bench your high-priced senior guard, J.J. Starling, who you wanted to bring back and was all ACC, and that improves the team. But that's what this game called for, and it was the right move, and it worked out for Syracuse. Let's hit a break. We'll get back to more of your phone calls, and we will also have Adrian Autry's full postgame press conference when he hits the podium shortly. This is the Burdick Postgame Show on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. Chris Paul, sign him up, Mike. Mike McAllister, best team in college basketball. In the pinned comment, I love it. What a weekend it would be if, Red's at the podium now. Here, I'll bounce out of the break.
Thought the crowd was on a level 5, so I thought getting all the fans that came out and really got behind this team. And then my team, I just, the fight that these guys have these last 2 games, and just the fight that they've shown, I'm just so proud of these guys. And like we talk about it, we felt like this was a NCAA tournament opportunity for us. SMU is a damn good team, and we had a chance to play them on our home court, and I thought we didn't want to lose that opportunity, and I thought our guys just showed so much heart and fight to get back in and get back into the game, and made the stops when we need to make the stops. I thought when we moved the ball better, we got really good shots at the end. We did all the things that we needed to do to pull that victory out. We're going to enjoy this and then get ready tomorrow. Questions?
Coach, Kai and Anthony, you talk about this team having that resolve and bend but don't break, just what he did down the stretch and multiple opportunities that he had. I
thought Kyan really gave us a huge boost. He came in, and I thought offensively he gave us a boost, but defensively I thought he did a good job, especially when we went to zone. SMU is a very good offensive team, and Boopy is a lot to handle, and we went to zone to try to slow those guys down. I thought he did a good job of that, but offensively, he made some big shots, some big drives, finished plays, and he played with the intensity and that you need to play with. So I was just happy for him. Again, another example of this team and one particular person just still fighting, right, and staying with it, going through that and just staying ready. So I give credit to him, and I give credit to our seniors, JJ and Nate and those older guys of really just, bringing our freshmen along, especially at this particular moment in time of the year.
What went into the decision in the second half to go with the lineup this year, especially Tyler and Kyle?
Well, they were playing zone, and we were stagnant, and we needed to get some guys out there that can make some shots. So I went with Tyler and Nate George and Cayenne and those guys, and we finally kept making the right plays, and then they fell when we needed to. But the big thing was that they went zone and they were playing a little small, and we knew we would go zone as well. So we were able to get those guys out there on the court and play at the same time.
Coach, I got a little time out there with 13 seconds left, whatever it was. Can you talk about what you drew up? Was that what you drew up in the other? Absolutely.
The one thing about, we thought, in those situations, I went with Nate KINGZ. He's really playing well at a high level right now, and I was very confident that we would get a shot off. If we can get him the ball getting downhill, I knew we would get a shot off, and particularly, he would get to the paint, and he delivered, executed the play just the way we drew it up.
Coach, how has Nate kind of embodied what you want this program to be this season? What are you being for you sitting at that moment?
What I love about Nate and what he embodies, and he's not about the talk. He's not about famous quotes or any of this stuff. He rolls his sleeves up every day and go to work. And when things don't go his way or our way, he keeps working, right? And that's what I respect, and that's what I respect about all of these guys. Again, this is college athletics, and it's been followed by a lot, and it's easy to get down. It's easy to get down on yourself, especially when things are not going the way you want them to go. So I credit all of these guys. All these guys are tough. They fight. But Nate KINGZ in particular, never gets too high, never gets too low. He just keeps battling, and this team is starting to come together in that way. I think these last 4 or 5 games, even though the results may not have been the same, they have not. There's no quit in this team, right? We may have some, dips here and there, but they continue to fight.
Was that the matchup you wanted for Nate too? I think you switched on them, so they would use this.
Yeah, we figured that they would be switching everything, and it was funny. I was talking to him the other day about that. Boopy is not only is he a really good offensive player, his defense is really good. Like he can harass the ball, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, if we get a switch on you, you think you can?" I was messing with him, joking with him. Can you think get Boopy to the basket? He said, "I think I can get him to the basket." I said, "All right." That's what he put me in a headlock and told me after the game.
Off of Mike's question about the lineup, you often talk during the season about the importance of having JJ as your senior leader in crunch time. Today, you played like 3 minutes in the second half and you stuck with the hot hand. Have you changed your philosophy or, you're thinking about how to utilize certain people?
No, I think at the end of the day, I wouldn't say philosophy, but Cayenne had a really good rhythm today, and he was engaged, and obviously he had a lot of energy. He just had a really good feel for what was going on, and I went with him. That was just my gut, and I went with him and finished the game with Cayenne.
What was that process, Adrian, with Cayenne? He goes from being benched a couple games ago. What did you guys talk about between then and now to kind of get him in the mind to have a day like today?
I think. The one thing about Cayenne is that he's resilient, and we just talked about every game is a different game, right? And you always have to stay ready, and you always have to be prepared in opportunity. With this team, we can play 8, 9, 10 guys. So again, those are the decisions that I have to make, and then sometimes they may not favor you, but it's nothing personal. And I thought he responded. I really thought he responded well. The last couple of practices, he's been, really well. He responded well. He had a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm, and I think that helped him today.
How do you feel like JJ handled not playing down the stretch in favor of Cayenne?
I think JJ was great, right? JJ was cheering. JJ was up. It's the same thing. This is one game, and JJ will be ready to go on Monday. He's the leader of his team, and he's shown so much leadership and so much growth. And this is just another example of that. Obviously, everyone wants to play whatever, but I think for the overall thing, JJ handled it really well, and he'll get ready, and we'll be getting ready for Monday.
Coach, there's a man for SMU gotten a lot of time today, especially in the middle there. How do you feel like as the game went along, your front court kind of handled it and got some serious foul trouble?
Yeah, I thought we did a good job of trying to keep a body on him. I mean, he's a load down there. I thought our defense, we switched it up here and there, and I think, just trying to keep a body on him. I think we got a couple of offensive fouls over the back, so we just wanted really to just try to keep a body on him and just fight him. And getting him out the game was huge for us because he was causing a lot of issues down there, to say the least. But we played against him last year, and we knew what to expect. We knew that, we were going to give up some stuff to him just because of his ability to play and his size.
Mike, Tyler Betsy is primarily a shooter, three-point guy, but he had a big defensive play there on their last possession. He got switched on the move.
Yeah, he did a really good job. Tyler's one of our better defenders. Him and Sadiq and Will Kyle, those guys all have the ability to switch up onto guards. I think, today, you got a chance to see Tyler Betsy do that. The game before that, I thought William Kyle did a really good job of switching and guarding some of the California guards. So, especially in those situations, I think that's where we've improved at. In those situations, being able to kind of switch and try to keep people in front of us. And I think Tyler did a really good job. But what I was really proud of Tyler was that, he came up with 5 rebounds today, and that's what I've been on him about. He got a big offensive rebound, which was huge for us. Tyler's 6'8", 6'9". He can shoot and he can do some other things, but he's still a sophomore. But I was really happy with him, being productive in the minutes that he had. Even Sadiq White, again, I thought Sadiq was really good, and Sadiq had a really good voice. This was a totally team effort. And Tyler Betsy is a guy that, he could do better, he could do more, but I was just happy, he made some big shots for us and we found him. Yeah, it was good to see Tyler get a couple go down. We needed it.
Coach, we're not going to see you before Monday. I know you said you're going to enjoy it for a few hours, but can you speak to the challenge that went Monday night against the Bills?
It's Duke, Steve. It's Duke, obviously playing at their home court. Boozer, amongst, all the other guys that they have, this will be, a challenge like everyone else. We'll get to work, we'll put together a game plan and go down there and execute it. Thank you.
Thank you. Coach Hatfield is coming in.
All right, that is Coach Autry after the win. Nate KINGZ with the game-winning layup late for the Orange. 79-78, they take down SMU at home. Back-to-back fun victories inside the JMA Wireless Dome, and Coach Autry diving into all of it there, including the decision to bench J.J. Starling and go with Kyan Anthony in the second half. We'll get into more of your thoughts on that, more of my thoughts, and if you'd like to call in, 315-437-7644 is our Massage NV hotline. We're back with more of our Burdick postgame show on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. Tournament back on. Look out, Duke. Here we come. Good to see them then get that win, though. All joking aside. 8 turnovers today. That's a positive. Rebounding much better in the second half. Let's see. Boards were down by 1 in the second half. And first half, they were down 5. They were down like 10 at one point in the first half, though. So they rebounded much better as the game progressed. Made some threes. Didn't really have them out shooting SMU from 3. That was good. Pat was right. The corner was wide open all game. Yeah. Malik Brown better be ready for the Orange. Duke just got to throw the power switch off, and that'll be the secret. Yeah, good to see. I feel happy for the guys that have been working hard. I don't know if JJ was truly up and cheering, but that's a tough call that Red made. And yeah, Philly, I thought their zone defense was good. I mean, they couldn't get a rebound in the first half, and of course, late in the game, they weren't counting on zone much. But I think your numbers and everything panned out for sure. It seemed like SMU struggled to shoot from 3 more than I expected. And when they didn't have Vigatola out there, they just didn't rebound as good in the second half because he was in foul trouble. He only played 19 minutes. William Kyle, I think he's out of years. No, Kyan played well. That would have been something if Kyan made that deep three. No, I know it wasn't your numbers, but Synergy's numbers, Philly. I trust that you were reading the data right. Yeah, it was interesting they started the game in zone. I mean, I think overall it was just, the more I think about it, like, it's just good for Syracuse when they go up against a team that is defensively challenged, because their offense just looks stagnant and looks really rough against good defenses, and we've seen that all year. But when they go up against a team that's more of like a, can you keep up? Can you score against a bad defensive team? Usually that's favored them this year. So, I just think them playing against a team that's 15th in offense and 91st in defense is a lot better than the other way around. If they're going up against a team that's 15th in defense, I don't think they would have won. Yeah, Boopy, the foul trouble helped. He was a little off. He got some bad rolls, too. I don't know if I call Tyler Betsy one of their better defenders, but he did a good job on Boopy at the end there.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Welcome back in on the postgame show. Orange win it over SMU 2 in a row. Do we say don't let the Cuse get hot? We say that knowing fully that they are playing Duke and UNC next week. Just good to see them take advantage of a couple games that were tough games to win, but they did win it. Good to see some great coaching decisions down the stretch. Really have not been a lot of games of the Adrian Autry era where you feel like they executed like that down the stretch. They made the right moves. They were there to come through down the stretch and really played nicely in the second half. A lot of good minutes from Kyan Anthony, of course, giving the crowd a big boost there. So let's go right back to the phone lines. We've got Chris in Syracuse, who has been waiting forever. We'll get to him first, and your phone call could be shortly after Chris at 315-437-7644. That is our Massage NV hotline. What's happening, Chris?
Hey, Tim, how's it going? As much as I don't like Jim Boeheim, at least Jim Boeheim would be on not send the sidelines once in a while, trying to get on those players, because you never throw a cross-court pass. Especially the only time it's a key game, they lost games that way. Not only that, like Donnie Freeman 3 games ago, he got double teamed down low too many different times. Like, he should do it in practice. Throw the ball quicker. This is why I don't think the players I think they're too loose. They're making too many mistakes as opposed to behind.
Only 8 turnovers in this game, Chris. I don't know why we're focusing on all the negatives here.
But I'm saying overall, maybe not this game per se, but like...
Well, we're talking about this game. We're reacting to this game. I mean, what do you have that stood out from this game besides, like, Donnie Freeman skip passes across that get intercepted? I know that's been a problem this year, and I didn't notice it in this particular game. So I don't think it's really top of mind for any of us.
I think it was a few today, actually, in a tight ball game, and close to the last 3-4 minutes in the second half. I think it was, and especially like Anthony was dropped by one. Anthony didn't get fouled. He missed a layup coming, and they got beat down low, and they went down. Actually scored quickly. Stuff like that. It's like the throwing. I know up by one, but it's game management. Like, they should have slowed it down and let Anthony rush that shot a little bit.
I don't know if this is the game to critique game management stuff, Chris, honestly, or turnovers. I don't remember the turnover you're talking about with Donnie. I remember a bad Nathan George turnover, but he had 2 turnovers today, and the team had 8 turnovers. And I think this is an example of we should be giving Autry some credit. If we're going to bash him throughout the season, and there's been a lot to bash this year, you also got to turn around and say, hey, they played well this week. They've come out with 2 gutsy wins, and we got to be fair and balanced here. You can't just be all negative all the time, you know?
Well, for the most part, there's a final 8 turnovers, but maybe it's the key ones. It's not how many, it's when. Like the key moment of the game, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm going to let you go, Chris. I don't remember any specifically bad turnovers with 3-4 minutes left in the game. I thought this was a rare example of Syracuse executing down the stretch, and a lot to like in this particular game. Let's go to David in Camillus, who is next up on our Massage MV hotline. Hey, David.
Hey, good afternoon. I just want to say one question, and then I'll listen for your response.
All right.
I'm going to be very optimistic, probably too optimistic.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, with the fact that Syracuse won, I know it's a very tough task for them to win the next game. If they can squeak out the next 2 games, which I know is very tall mountain to climb, if they can beat North Carolina and Duke, do you at all see a sliver of hope of them possibly making the NCAA tournament? You know, if they go on this little run and beat upset some teams? I mean, I want to get your honest opinion.
All right, David, I appreciate the question. I mean, sure, if they went on the road and they beat Duke, or they knocked off UNC at home in back-to-back games, then you're talking about 2 quad 1 wins in a row on top of a good quad 2 win against SMU. You're talking about right now they're 68th in the net. That'll probably update, go up a little bit. KenPom, they bumped up 1 spot to 67. You're getting on the bubble probably if you were to win those 2 games, but them beating Duke is incredibly unlikely, guys. I understand that it's fun to think about it, and I'm usually the guy that's looking at it from a half-full lens, and I'm also usually the guy that's saying we shouldn't count them out, because there's been several examples of Syracuse where we did count them out, and we said there's no shot of them making the tournament, and then they do go on a late run. And yes, there's 4 quad 1 games in a row, which is exactly what Syracuse needs. The problem is when they have gone up against a legitimate defense that's top 20, top 30 in the country, outside of the Houston game and a little bit against Kansas, but that was kind of a different story. It has not looked good offensively or good enough offensively to win a game. It looked good offensively today, and I made this point in the Cuse Sports Talk break. SMU is 15th in offense. They're 91st in KenPom defense. Syracuse has a significantly better chance of beating a team that is offensive-minded this year than defensive-minded, it feels like. If SMU is 15th in defense and 91st in offense, I don't think Syracuse has the offensive flow that they had. I think they struggle against good defenses. Duke's a really good defense. UNC's not a great defense, but they did struggle against them down in Chapel Hill. I mean, KenPom's given them a 4% chance of beating Duke. They're going to be probably 18, 19, 20-point underdogs in that game. I'm not trying to poo-poo what we've seen because it's been encouraging to see them play well in the last 2 games, and I want to keep this mostly optimistic, but let's see them this week and see if they can compete with Duke and UNC. That would be a step up from what we've seen against some of the best teams in the ACC. And when I say compete, I mean, if they could be in the game in the fourth or the final minutes of the second half against Duke or UNC, that would be encouraging for me. That would be a step up. I don't think we can talk about them beating Duke and then beating UNC, given where they're at right now. We got to keep in mind the opponent with some of this stuff. Let's go to Jake, who's in Iowa. He's next up on our Massage MV hotline. Hey, Jake.
Tim, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback off the last caller. If Jim Boeheim were still the coach here, Donnie Freeman would be Derek Coleman. Okay.
So, interesting take.
Let's consider the fact that the last time when Zion Williamson was an amazing freshman at Duke, what did we do when we went down there? We beat them. So let's stay positive.
You think Donnie? Can we stick on that? Donnie Freeman would be Derek Coleman. You think it's coaching that is holding him back from being a number 1 draft pick in the NBA and one of the all-time great players at Syracuse?
Well, maybe not number 1, but Tim, do you disagree with that fact?
Yes, that's why I'm challenging it. I don't think he's Derek Coleman if Jim Boeheim is the head coach of this team. No.
I don't know, man. I'm just saying that the best prospect we've had. Let's stay positive, okay? So
I'm trying to stay in reality a little bit too, Jake. I mean, is Donnie Freeman a nice player, and could he be a little bit better with a better coach? Sure, but I don't think Adrian Autry is holding him back from being one of the all-time greats at Syracuse.
All right, let's stay positive. Let's go back to the Cal game. We're on an 8-0 run. We got a 1-point lead, and what does Autry do? of the 5 guys on the floor that just got you an 8-point lead, you sub 4 of them. So today, what does he do? He keeps Anthony in there. He keeps the hot hand. He keeps the momentum. He finally, after 3 years, learned something. So let's say positive. Happy Valentine's Day miracle. I want to say to my dad, who I know out there is listening, my dad puts the D's up on the wall in 311 Heaven. Get Mom some flowers on the way home. Appreciate you taking my call.
All right. I appreciate it, Jake. We ended on a positive note there. I'm trying to stay. I'm usually the guy that is positive. It's weird for me to be getting back-to-back phone calls, and I feel like I'm being more negative than the fan. But, I mean, Donnie Freeman being held back from being Derek Coleman by the coaching staff is a wild take. That's one of the more wild takes we've had all year. And I didn't, disagree with everything Jake just said. I think he's right. I think there were a lot of encouraging signs from what Adrian Autry did and how he handled the substitutions in the second half, and I think he should be applauded. Let's go to Dro in Clay. We'll take one more and then work in another break on this probably lengthy Burdick postgame show. Back to our Massage MV hotline. It is Dro in Clay. What's happening?
Hey, man, how you doing? So real quick, prime Jim Boeheim, this is probably a tournament team. I'm not going to go on record and say Donnie Freeman's Derek Coleman.
Right.
I mean, John Wallace is a pretty darn good player, and I'm not even going to put Donnie Freeman and John Wallace's same sentence as John Wallace. And that's not any disrespect to John Wallace.
Sure.
Being real there. But with that said, today was a very nice win today. SMU is a tournament team. They're projected to be 8-9 seed right now in the NCAA tournament. I'm not sure they fall out to this loss. But I do think that this team has had talent all year. Unfortunately, Syracuse not won a lot of games that they could have won, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. With that said, I don't see us beating Duke. But
No.
there's some winnable games out there after Duke, including UNC, with their best player unfortunately being hurt. And that's just me being realistic. I've been I've been more critical of the team in the past. When I'm critical of the team, there's issues. But we want to get an Autry for a lot of stuff. He coached a good game today, and that's the piece noted there. You have to give credit where credit's due. So hopefully they can go out, keep it competitive with Duke, and then see what happens after that. Other than that, though, you just give yourself a little glimmer of hope. I mean, to think that this team can make the NCAA tournament, it's not going to happen. I mean, it's going to take a lot to get there. But it's frustrating at times as a fan to know that the talent was there. We just didn't get it done early on in the season with some of the losses that we had, because if you won some of those games, next thing you know, instead of being 15-11, you're 19-7.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. And that's the frustrating part. But Donnie Freeman is a very good player. There's no doubt, but we have other pieces as well, too. And I thought Nate KINGZ came up big today. So let's see what happens going forward. But it was definitely a nice win today. And it goes to show, though, my frustration was that had we taken care of some business throughout the year, this is a much bigger win today.
Yeah.
That's the frustrating part.
Well said, Dro. That's fair. That's balanced. That's all I'm asking for. If you're one that gets on Coach Autry when he has a tough game or he makes some bad decisions or they lose to Hofstra and their zone offense doesn't look good against Hofstra and that curveball threw them off, or other games like the BC game and an inexcusable loss, then you got to come on here also and say basically what Dro just said, I'd say, and give credit where credit is due. Coach Autry made some nice moves here at the end of this game. Benching J.J. Starling is something that maybe he could have had a quicker trigger on throughout the season at times, but he made the right move in this game. And it's good to see that Nate KINGZ is blossoming into more of a driver, more of a player that they can call plays for. And I don't think there's a shot attempt mark right now where I would be disappointed in how many shots Nate KINGZ is getting in a game. Every time throughout these games, I feel like when I look down at the box score and we're about midway through, we're 3/4 of the way through, I'm advocating for more shots for Nate KINGZ. He should be getting a bulk of their plays on offense, it feels like, because he's not only one of their best shooters, of course, and he is shooting at the level that we expected after a slow start to the season, but he is very good at getting to the basket and finishing, just as we saw in that final play of the game. So great move by Coach Autry to call the timeout, take it out of Nathan George's hands, because I didn't have a good vibe there. Even though George played well in this game, he hasn't been great in that situation this year. Final possession, Nate KINGZ was the guy that deserved the ball there. Nate KINGZ came through with the winning play. We'll hit a break. We'll get back to more of your phone calls. Hang on, Dave and Kevin. And we do have one spot open on our Massage MV hotline if you'd like to call in. 315-437-7644. More Burdick postgame on the other side.
This is...
Donnie Freeman, Derek Coleman. What's the YouTube chat yapping about? We've gone from Donnie Freeman socks to Donnie Freeman would be Derek Coleman. I think we've had those two callers already on postgame. I just was laughing so hard because I kept saying, like, are you sure you want to make the take that Derek Coleman is the comparison, or like Donnie Freeman could be DC? And Jake just kept saying, let's stay positive. That was just like his company line he was falling back on. Let's stay positive. We can be positive, but we can also be in reality, too. SMU didn't score over the last 2:43 of the game. Defense was good down the stretch against a good offensive team. I don't think Donnie's like, now some of the chatters are super down on Donnie, it feels like. He's a good player, but let's not compare him to the number one draft pick in the NBA. The injuries haven't helped. The women's team gets a win tomorrow. What a weekend we'd have of Cuse Sports. Was kind of interesting how they're coming back in the second half and Donnie and JJ are on the bench. But I think the more interesting thing was JJ on the bench. Donnie was in foul trouble. I think, Fly Guy, that he probably would have just gone to a Betsy Kings George top three if Kyan didn't play well. I don't think JJ was... JJ was trying to get in the lane. He just couldn't score in this game. He's completely lost his shot, so when they were going zone, he just wasn't a good fit. Now, I saw someone else comment earlier, I can't remember who it was, that JJ should play 8 minutes against Duke. That's not going to happen. I mean, JJ probably, you can make a case, should be playing slightly less, so you monitor kind of Kyan more closely or give him an opportunity to back that up more. But, you're not going to see JJ play 8 minutes in the next game. That doesn't add up.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Welcome back on the postgame show, a positive, happy postgame show for a change. Back-to-back really gutsy, fun wins inside the Dome in a year that has not had a lot of fun or memorable wins. The Orange have done 2 of those this week. That win over Cal in double overtime on Wednesday was electric after the 2 power outages and all that went into that game. And they come back from the dead here, really kind of a sloppy first half. Didn't feel like Syracuse was going to win this game, and they got the Dome alive. Kyan Anthony had that tremendous and one, which was probably the loudest the Dome has been at any point in ACC play, maybe in recent memory. And Nate KINGZ, they dial up a nice play for him. Coach Autry with an ATO to silence the critics there out of the timeout there, getting the play to Nate KINGZ. He gets the switch on Boopy Miller. Thought it was interesting. SMU switched every ball screen, and Syracuse, I thought, really ran their offense very nicely in ball screen situations. That probably would not be my game plan if I was deciding what ball screen coverage to throw at Syracuse. Seems like if they're hedging or blitzing on the screens against Kyan Anthony or Nathan George, that has been a better way to go about it. But George only had 2 turnovers in this game. He wasn't bothered as much coming around those screens. And Kyan Anthony also played very nicely with 13 points off the bench. Back to the phone lines, our Massage MV hotline. We go to Kevin in Pompey, who is first up out of the break here. 315-437-7644 if you'd like to call in. And Kevin, you are on our Burdick postgame show.
Ken, nothing but positivity coming from this guy.
Love it. We'll take the positivity all night.
We just won a game today against a team who had 3 more wins than we did going in.
Mm-hmm.
We beat a team the other day that had 3 more wins than we did going in. You know what? As fans, we got to get back. I think we got to get back to one game at a time. Syracuse is our team. We're going to root for them. We may not be happy with everything we see, obviously. You know, everybody thinks they can coach better than Red. So let's celebrate the wins. Let's celebrate the confidence that maybe this team gained over the last 2 games of beating 2 teams that came in better than them. And you know what? They might not win both of the next 2 games. But let's not count them out. There's a reason why we have to go play the game.
Yeah, I hear you, Kevin. It speaks to the culture, right? That it felt like everyone was sort of checked out on the season. You worried that given the negative buzz, the team would kind of fold up shop or not give it much effort, and they did the exact opposite of that this week. They were down. They were seemingly out of the game today. They fought back. And, of course, the Cal game, they showed a lot of heart, and William Kyle was leading the charge in that game. And they just showed some toughness, some leadership that they've sort of lacked throughout the year in late-game situations.
Tim, I have to say, people who want to beat up Red, I know that he may not look like the best coach in the world. He made some decisions today of leaving Kyan in and benching JJ.
Yep.
I'm not sure that's an easy decision to make. And you know what? It paid off. And you know what? We've also had that cardiac Cuse thing of let's just keep it close and you never know what's going to happen. And I think that happened today. But I do think it was coaching. I do think Red had a game today. I don't know that it's going to save his future. But you know what? I'm going to go in Monday night. I'm going to be wearing my orange beat Duke shirt. And I'm going to be hoping for every basket to go in. And we'll see what happens. And you know what? Go Cuse. Let's do the best we can. Let's finish out the year strong and save face for the kids who are playing hard.
Well said, Kevin. Kevin and Pompey there on our Massage MV hotline. We appreciate him checking in. Let's go to Dave in Syracuse, who's next up. What's up, Dave?
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Hey, a couple of quick ones. First of all, I appreciate you as a listener, shutting down anyone that would use a platform after this game to dump on Adrian Autry. What are you thinking? I mean, give me a break. Give this guy his kudos. So a couple things here, Tim. Number one, everyone's mentioning Cayenne and JJ going to the bench, and I'm glad that worked out. That was good. The other thing that I thought was huge with Adrian is Betsy came in. I think he missed his first 4 or 5 shots.
Yeah.
He stayed with him, and he was a huge reason that we were able to come back. He hung with him even though he missed his first few. I think he saw that we needed that firepower and that Betsy always thinks the next one's going in. And sure enough, the next few went in, and it was a huge part of him cutting into that lead. And my last point here, Tim, is that you mentioned something, taking the ball out of Nate George's hands. I thought Nate George, we don't win that game without Nate George.
Absolutely,
was great.
Yeah.
I thought he was great. He created some open shots for us with his penetration, his change of direction with the dribble. He did still have a couple stupid turnovers. I'll understand that. But to me, he was the one that had the ball in his hands almost 100% of the time to cut into that lead. And that was a great choice to go to Nate KINGZ because he's been great lately, but do not win that game without Nate George. I thought he was tremendous.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dave. And I don't want me saying that at the end to come across as I didn't think Nate George was good today. I think Nate George has been very solid in the last 3 games, really. And he stepped it up. He's played at a level that we have not seen him play in a while, especially when you're considering the opponent. Again, I think Syracuse going up against a offensive-minded team helps out Nate George, helps out the team overall. And I felt like he did a much better job at kind of letting the game come to him and reading the defense, and he hasn't seemed as tight lately. And that could be because these games don't mean quite as much, and they're at a point where they need to stack 4 or 5 wins in a row, and just getting 1 win doesn't matter a ton. So I'm not going to overreact too much, but I do think Nathan George deserves his flowers for this game. The only point I made is at the end of the game there, I had a much better feeling of Nate KINGZ with the ball in his hands than Nathan George. And I'm talking more specifically about the history this year of late game situations or end of the shot clock situations when George has the basketball versus KINGZ. And Adrian Autry put it well in his post-game press conference. He said that I felt confident we were going to get a shot off with Nate KINGZ, and we were probably going to get a good shot, and he was going to get inside. Nate KINGZ is just a little bit better at getting downhill than Nathan George, and sometimes it feels like Nathan George in transition and opportunities where he has to sort of read the court and make the right read, he just doesn't quite have the right decision, especially when it's late game situations. So I thought that was a great move by Coach Autry. That being said, Nathan George played very well overall, and I could be wrong. Maybe if they didn't call the timeout, Nathan George makes the right read, and maybe he scores the game-winning bucket. I'm not ruling that out. I just thought, given the percentages, given what the numbers say about Syracuse out of timeouts this year, it seemed like that. It was the right call. We can say that now. And again, I thought when Boopy Miller missed the shot down the other end and he was kind of underneath the basket stuck and the Orange had numbers, Nathan George probably could have been better about when he crossed the half-court line, speeding up the play a little bit more and taking advantage of a 5-on-4 situation. Once he didn't make that immediate read that he probably should have made or get the ball to Donnie, who had a smaller defender on him, then Coach Autry stepped in and called the timeout, and it was better to have Nate KINGZ handle the basketball at the end of that game. Let's go to Rob in Connecticut. We'll work in one more before our final break. Rob, you are on our Burdick postgame show.
T.O., how's it going, buddy?
Going great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I missed you down here at Foxwoods or Mohegan. When are you coming down the next time?
Well, who knows? That was a random trip with the team to Mohegan Sun, so I'd love to go back. It was a nice spot.
Yeah, that'd be great. We'll have to keep an eye out for that. Great victory today. If we just could win a few more in a row, and sporadically throughout the season, I don't think any of this talk would have happened. You know what I mean? It's just losing games in a row stinks.
Well, of course,
I mean? But, hopefully stranger things have happened, but I want to see, I think what we should expect is at least make the tournament and win. I mean, I'm talking about the conference tournament, that is, of course, right?
Yeah, they're going to make that for sure.
Well, yeah, because not making it, that would be an ultimate. That would not be good. But, if we can get in there and win a few games, and look, I don't know. Is the bubble, do you think it's even remotely possible?
I mean, you can't rule it out just because they have 4 straight quad 1 games, and until you play those games and you lose a handful of them, you can't rule it out. But it's very unlikely right now for them to go and beat Duke or go and beat UNC at home. And as much as I like the way they played this week, I'm not at a point where I think they're about to reel off 4 straight quad 1 wins. And they probably need to win at least 3 of those to feel good about them being on the bubble.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, look, hopefully we can get some more victories. Have a nice weekend, okay?
All right. Rob in Connecticut, we appreciate you checking in. We'll work in our final timeout. Massage MV hotline is open if you'd like to call in. Orange winning it over SMU. 79-78 on Nate King's is game-winning layup. Funny how SMU had about 2.5 seconds, and they just chucked it immediately from 80 feet. Not that they were going to score, although SMU did hit a half-court buzzer beater earlier this year with Boopy Miller. They probably could have gotten to the half-court line, but that basketball went up immediately like it was a bomb when it went into the SMU player from 75 feet away. We'll continue to react to this one on the Burdick postgame show. We already heard from Coach Autry. A reminder that when we do hear from Coach Autry, that's brought to you by RomanoCars.com. That is our post-game coaches conference. You can shop today from anywhere at RomanoCars.com. Back with more to wrap things up. Another positive post-game show here on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
This is Orange.
I gotta blow my nose. I'll be back, guys. Oh, we got a caller that said Johnny special guest incoming on the postgame show live.
Ripped out his hand by Boopy.
Who could it be? Special guest, a man who lives down the street. Here he is, Mr. Paulie Scabilia.
Your power supply is
Okay.
in the table.
Yeah, I saw the photo. Thanks. So I'm just you're gonna go no backup or? Oh yeah, we cool.
I'm on mic 3. Get your shit together.
Yeah.
There goes your no hitter.
There goes the no hitter. The no hitter is gone.
I had to tell that guy on Twitter to shut the fuck up.
Which guy?
The guy who's always
Ryan, whatever.
He wrote that LGO and I wrote STFU. You can't be that negative and then all of a sudden cheer.
That's the thing that always baffles me is like all these callers are like, well, I think we could beat Duke. Like
no,
they react so much to each game. And I'm like,
if they beat Duke, the trolls are going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
This is going to be the best social experiment in the history of me.
They're not beating Duke though.
I know, but if they do.
Yeah. It just, the roller coaster ride with every game is funny. But I do like that some people are calling in and they're like, let's give Red credit.
He outcoached him this game.
Yeah, that's what I want to say is we can get on Red when he does a bad job. We also got to give him credit when he does a good job, like this game. But
they refused to guard the corner 3.
Yeah.
And
that's why he kept Betsy in.
And KINGZ and he picked it apart.
Yeah.
And he knew that. He gave the ball to Donnie on the biggest play of the game. Donnie drove the baseline, fed it to Kings. Kings hits the 3 on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were moving the ball.
And it's freezing in the studio. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Red's keeping his job just because he won this game.
No.
Yeah.
You beat UNC, though, you're kind of in a purgatory. If SMU wins out and this turns into a quad 1 win, you're kind of in purgatory.
Yeah, at Louisville, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Louisville's playing its best. They got their best player back. I'm
Yeah.
not saying they are going to win these games, but
let's just see them be in the game.
Yeah.
That'd be a step up. Like, don't go down to Duke and just get squashed, which they very well might.
Yeah, even good teams do that.
Yeah, right. Duke beat Clemson today, right?
Yeah.
You need headphones, or are you good?
No, I won't. If someone calls, I'll get up and leave.
We won't be long. We've already...
I don't want to deal with callers.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Final segment on the Burdick postgame show as we welcome you back in. The Orange winning it over SMU, 79-78, their second straight wild win inside the Dome. Phone lines remain open if you'd like to call in to our Massage MV hotline. It's 315-437-7644. We've got an in-studio guest, a man who is sitting courtside, kind of, at the Dome. You don't really sit courtside anymore.
Pretty close.
Yeah. Paulie Sibilia is here. He lives down the street now, and he had to come in and just vent after a nice win.
It was a good win, and I think Red out-coached.
Yeah. Andy Enfield?
Yeah, this game. It was good. I heard you just say, too, that you thought that George could have beat them up the court at the end there and they were told specifically, if we get a stop, get it over half court and call a timeout. Because what was it? KINGZ was on the free throw line. He missed. While they were on the free throw line, they were told, if it comes over, we're calling a timeout.
I just said that because Boopy Miller was like underneath their basket and behind the play. So
they actually listened to Red, I think, for once. And it was. Right. I was in the locker room after, and it was. It felt good for them and for Red. Like Donnie Freeman jumped on his back as they were walking. They like their coach, you guys. You know, I don't know if you guys know this or not. They're playing hard for him. They want him to win. You know, they were all jumping on him after the game. So
yeah, and he made some good and tough decisions in this game. I mean, now everyone's going to overreact and think JJ should be benched and never should play again.
No, it's matchups.
Yes, the zone was not working with JJ out there, or them going against SMU's zone.
SMU refused to guard the corner three. He put KINGZ and Betsy in, and they tore it apart.
Yeah. And it was smart to stay with Betsy even when he started 0 for 5. He was getting clean looks. They just weren't falling.
They weren't guarding the three-point line. They were daring Syracuse, and Syracuse was basically saying, we're going to play zone and take the three away. We're going to go out on the shooters and let you just kill us on the inside with your big guys, and they did, and it all worked out.
Yeah, and it was nice that their top big guy got in foul trouble. That evened up the rebounds a little bit in the second half.
I also don't think people realize how good of a three-point shooting team SMU is, and Syracuse kind of said, hey, we'll give you 2 for, and not let you beat us from the 3-point.
Yeah, they had a good game plan. SMU was 7 for 20 from 3. They were 5 for 11 in the second half, but it felt like they shot below their average, and Syracuse shot obviously above their average from 3. They made 7 second half threes. That might be the most threes they've made in a single half this year.
They weren't just they weren't contested.
Yeah.
You could sit, Betsy could cook,
I was thinking throughout the game, there were a couple times George had the ball in the wing or someone had the ball in the wing. And I'm like, throw it to the corner. Like, that guy was wide open all game.
Yeah, and Red called the play out of a timeout where they gave the ball to Donnie. He drove to the basket, and he threw a BB to the corner for a 3. It was a great game for Syracuse, and we didn't have to, brush our cars off after the win either. So it was a double win today. It was a great day in Central New York.
So what do you think the reaction is going to be that's going to bother you the most out of this game? The idea that, we should be rooting against them. And
no, I think the most upsetting thing to me right now is the fans that are what if he saves his job?
Right. Yeah.
Like, if he saves his job, your basketball team's pretty good, and your coach is pretty good, because what they have in front of them is a monumental task.
Yeah. Quick turnaround playing Duke. I mean, they're going to be 20-point underdogs to Duke, probably.
To be playing meaningful games in March, you're going to have to either beat Duke or Louisville on the road, UNC at home, and win against Wake on the road and Pitt at home. So, yeah. And if he does that, God bless him, and then we'll let the powers that be make a decision.
Yeah. Do you agree? I made the point that it feels like it's better for Syracuse to go up against an offensive-minded team. Like this year, SMU 15th in offensive efficiency, 91st in defensive efficiency. You feel like they can win that game, but they can't win against a team that's 15th in defense. Yeah.
They beat Cal, Florida State, and SMU. I'd probably say are the three. Basically, when you get outside of Duke and Louisville, the best offensive teams in the conference.
Yeah, if it's like a track meet and they can get up and down and try and match buckets, especially in the Dome. I mean, it felt fun in the Dome a little bit today when both teams were hitting threes.
It was good. The fans were there and they enjoyed it and they had fun, and it felt like old days for a day.
Well, we'll see what they have against Duke. I'm trying not to overreact too much, but it's still exciting to see them playing hard for their coach right now.
I'm not doing the show for the next 2 days, but it's going to be a great social experiment to see if somehow Syracuse beats Duke, what the reaction will be.
Right.
Especially after a 2-game win. Like, if they had lost these two and went in and did it, everybody would be mad. Like, why couldn't you do that all season? Now it makes things really interesting.
Yeah, I still would say...
Yeah, they're 20-point dogs. It's not going to happen, but if it does, it's going to be wild to see how the fans react.
Be a wild show on Tuesday. I'm certainly rooting for it just to see the social experiment play out, honestly, more than anything. All right, that is Pauly Sibilia joining us for an in-studio segment at the end of our Burdick postgame show. That's going to wrap it up. Thanks to Paul for producing, and we will catch you next time on QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
This is our